everybody. Welcome back to the Next Level Podcast with Dr. Leslie. I have a repeat guest who is launching the very first episode of my mini-series on wealth generation. That's abundance, creating all of the sort of wealth, in this case, more on the financial and business aspect. So without further ado, let's just jump right in because we've got cocktails going, we've got coffee, we've got a lot of shit to dive into here. So Uncle Marv, it's 5. Okay, cheers. So this is every time he's on the podcast, he pours me bourbon and ginger ale zero. So cheers. We're gonna take a swig, everybody.
Salud.
Salud. I welcome all of you to get a drink if you're drinkers. It's not like me to do an alcoholic beverage while I'm shooting, but what the hell? When Uncle Marv is on, we got to do what we got to do, and it's zero. It's very carnivore friendly, by the way. So it's a little bit of a treat for me. So welcome back.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I love being on your show.
Yeah,
I really do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so before we cut forward, as you'll see up on the screen, so Uncle Marv has his own podcast. He's also the owner of the podcast studio here. Ask Old Man Uncle Marv.
It's close. It's Ask the Old Man Uncle Marvin.
Ask the Old Man Uncle Marvin.
Yeah.
Okay, I know.
That's because I'm a young guy.
Because you're a young guy, yes. So it's very cool. Your podcast is like a reverse where people actually come on to ask you questions because you've had a very, very interesting life. And we covered a lot of that when I had you on my podcast, everything from Donald Trump. What did Donald Trump, Jewish wives, and the Holocaust have in common? And it was you.
Me.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
We covered so many amazing topics.
And stuff I've left out too.
And many things, and love, and all the things. Right. Some of which we're going to cover today. So I wanted you to come in the show because I'm creating another mini series on wealth and creation. And there's such a broad understanding and ways and methods to create wealth, get out of debt, small businesses, there's online, there's content creation, there's so many different ways of doing it. And I'm at this beautiful point in my career, in my life, where I'm now expanding and I get to start thinking about these fun things. Like my life kind of went through this breakdown. I had to recalibrate, figure out who I am. I came into my mastery. I've kind of got, my relationship status sort of figured out within myself. And now it's like, now shit gets real. Now it's time to create that wealth on a whole new level. So I'm kind of used my example, my life, to help others kind of travel with me in life and help themselves too. So I figured you'd be really great to sort of launch this because you've been around town.
A few hours.
And you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've had ups, you've had downs. And you could shed a lot of, perspective on the trends and what you've done and your advice for people from your perspective. And that would be very complimentary to some of the other sort of more nouveau trending stuff that may or may not keep. Because you have some pretty solid skills in business that have held true over time, do you think?
There are basics to business that I think everybody should know.
Okay, share.
And when you say wealth, I've always lived my life, wealth having two roads. You can be wealthy, but not rich. And you can be rich and not wealthy. So wealth to me has nothing to do with money. Rich is all about money. So I've taken two roads in my life.
And both are important, and I want to cover both of those because wealth is more of a state of being. It's more internal. There's other things that can create wealth.
Exactly.
Money, helps us, allows us to do more things that might expand on our wealth. But I specifically use those words, wealth generation, because it's not always about money. And I'm not trying to make it all about money. That's a piece of it. So let's explore those two.
Okay. Well, I've always been wealthy, even when I wasn't rich. But I've always been wealthy. I've always had a state of mind that the richness will come later, but my basic attitude has got to be one of health, family, um, um, kids. I mean, your health alone is a wealth. You and I've been rich, I've been poor monetarily.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't go through that, you'll never be rich.
Really? So you think that the highs and the lows
Are healthy.
are necessary?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Because people say, well, I failed in my business. No, you didn't. It just didn't make it. But you learn from it what not to do again. So it becomes an educational process that you go through. You should embrace and not feel as a failure, but as an education, just like you would go to school and learn it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't exactly pass every course that you take, do you?
Well, I did.
Yeah, okay.
But not all straight A's. Some of them
right.
were C's.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of my businesses just barely made it.
Sure.
And some of my businesses didn't make it. But I don't consider them failures.
Mm.
I consider those learning processes that I had to go through of mistakes that I have made that I shouldn't make again. So, like I said, it's just life. You go through life and just build years of education that you're going through. And don't forget, now you've got a lot of personal monkey wrenches that get thrown in. I'm in my third marriage, right? And those two other marriages conflicted with my rich portion of my wealth.
Right.
Because they tore you down. You had to have a division of the money portion of it, asset portion of it. So it tore you down. You had to start again. And I've started my life richness-wise twice already.
What ages were you when those restarts happened?
Let's see. The first one, I was 30. Yeah, 30 years old.
Mm.
And the second one, I was 60.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So at 60, did that freak you out? Because that's traditionally close to retirement and, you might have been worried about your health. Like, did you ever worry about your life in terms of if you ever wanted to slow down? Or did you never think about retirement? Did you always know you were going to work, you were always going to make money? It wasn't
I knew I was never going to retire.
Yeah.
I didn't. What is retirement, Giving up all your freedoms. Giving up your passions.
I feel the same way. I don't even know, like the concept of retirement doesn't even make sense to me. In fact, if anything, I feel like as I get older and create more and understand more, I'm actually going to become more productive and more contributory and more precise in how I can quote unquote work.
Right.
Like I can see myself in my 70s, doing speaking and doing philanthropic work and volunteering and creating, bigger things with all of my knowledge and my resources and not actually slowing down, using everything that I've gained and like really doing more of an impact as I get older, not less. I feel like all these years are just fine tuning me and growing me and adding to the big work that I'm going to do when I'm, 70 plus,
Right. Don't forget, becoming rich is relative. What is rich? What is that a destination? I mean, do you put a dollar amount on it? No, you just keep going.
It's interesting you say that because one of the things that I've really been sitting with recently is I've never, and let's not take this the wrong way. It's a positive thing. I've never put value on money itself. Like I've never been trying to get money. Some people are like, I need the money. I'm obsessed with the money. For me, it's always been, I'm obsessed with my passions and the things I want to do, and they just happen to bring me money. So what's your perspective on this? People say if you follow your passion, following your passion will be what brings you your financial well-being.
You know, it's funny you mention that. To me, money has always been a barometer. It only tells me how well I'm doing or how bad I'm doing or how average I'm doing. Am I paying my bills? It's just a barometer. I feel wealthy. I feel rich wealthy when all my bills are paid. I got a few bucks in my pocket, and I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from. That's now at the age of 80. At the age of 30, I wanted to be a multimillionaire, and I wanted the money, and I wanted the boats and the airplanes, and I wanted the big house, and I wanted all the luxuries and the cars and everything else. It changes.
Yeah.
It changes. Now, I had in my heyday, by the way, my last divorce cost me $3.5 million.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
And you know what I did? You know why it cost me $3.5 million?
Why?
Because I walked away. I gave her everything.
It was that bad. She was that bad.
I was a 28-year marriage. I had a 6,000 square foot brick Tudor home on an acre and a half of land in a place called Long Grove, Illinois, which is a very fancy neighborhood. I had 7 vehicles. I had 3 boats. I had an airplane. Okay? I had a huge business that was doing great. And I just walked away and left her everything.
Wow.
But I was wealthy.
Right.
I wasn't rich, but I was wealthy.
And I'm sure you felt more wealthy after leaving that relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I came to Las Vegas to live here permanently in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing.
Wow.
I had nothing. I had a couple of bucks, but nothing to speak of. I came here, and I started my life all over again in 2002. But I felt wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt wealthy. Because in order for you to know where you're going, you must remember where you came from. And I said to myself, I'll never go back to the last session we were on the show. I'll never go back to that. Anything past that is wealth.
Mm.
Okay? I had a lot of money prior to my divorce in 2002, right? But I also had at age 54 a 5 bypass heart attack. Okay? My health was not good. That monetary wealth
Sucked the life out of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Literally, you almost died from it.
I almost died from it, right. 5 bypasses. Okay? Open heart surgery.
You got the zipper on your chest.
And I got the zipper
Mm-hmm.
at age 54. But I was rich. No, I wasn't.
It's interesting you say that because that's exactly how I've come to be, come into being. So many times, I did my doctoral degree and I was working and I was raising young kids, and 3 times I destroyed my body, mind, physiology, emotion, like spirit, everything by burning it just to attain these goals monetarily, educationally, motherly, whatever. And when I went through my whole indictment and this whole crashing of my life, I was like, no fucking way Am I ever going to destroy and neglect myself for anything, any goal? It is not worth it. It was not worth it. I had so much to recover from physiologically and all of them, mentally, emotionally. And I just don't play that game anymore. I don't play the money chasing game, the goal chasing game. There is a better way. When you follow your passion, your joy, you take your strategic actions. But for me, it is so much about playing and enjoying life. I will not chase money again. I will not. I won't. And as I've allowed myself to surrender to that, my wealth has gone through the roof. The passion, the inspiration, the joy, the pleasure is like, I love waking up every day. I'm always high. I'm always excited. And the magical like synchronicities end up happening in that place too, where I don't have to try. It just happens.
And the money's coming.
And the money comes. And
Absolutely.
the money comes. So this whole like, so I love that. I wasn't expecting actually that response from you because, you know, there's so many of these more traditional, even now it's like, you got to work hard and massive action and you got to, bum, bum, bum. And it's like, and then if you fail, you try again and you just try. And I'm like, that fucking talk,
See,
like Tony Robbins pushed this a lot, and it's like massive action, change your approach, just keep changing. That's fucking exhausting. I'm exhausted just listening to you tell me what my life is going to.
Using the word fail, it's not failure.
Yeah, and I don't see it that way either.
Right.
I'm fascinated by this because I want to learn more and step into more of how I can create wealth and riches on a higher level with ease and grace from my passion and just in a flawless state, not from this whole like, you don't have to. There's many, many people have been successful and have their own level of rich. And I think what you said was good. It's defining what rich is to you.
Right.
You know, if I can pay for and acquire everything I need when I need and want it, to me, that's rich.
Done.
Like, why do I need excess? Why do I need, if I trust in my process and
How many blouses could you put on at one time?
Exactly.
How many jackets could you put on at one time?
I wear the same like 6 outfits.
Hello?
I have a closet full just because, you rotate, you're like, oh my God, this is my favorite. I'm going to wear it until I'm like not passionate about it anymore.
Right.
And then next season, you got your little bit of wardrobe and you wear that over and mix and match. And yeah, you don't need all of these things.
I am passionately in love with my car.
Mine too. Pretty girl. I call her pretty girl.
I have a 2015 Cadillac SRX. I love my car. I wouldn't trade that car in. I don't care what car you want to give me. I don't want it.
You are my car soul mate because I feel the same way. My 2015 Porsche Panamera. I mean, she's beautiful and gorgeous, and I love the model because her ass is so nice, and newer models don't. And she's souped up to the nuts, and I'm like, I will forever have her, and I would live in a box, but I would keep her forever because she is like me incarnated in a car.
People say to me, "Why don't you buy a new car?" I don't want to buy a new car.
Yeah,
I was there at one time. I had the Mercedes. I had a his and hers Mercedes, one for my ex-wife, one for me. We had two 450 SELs, the big ones, $65,000 at that time, $65,000 cars, right? But so what? It's just a thing. Who cares? Well, so you could drive down the street and say, "Oh, look at that guy, he's got a 450 SEL." So what? It was the worst car I ever owned, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was terrible in the snow.
I guess.
It would fishtail all the time. But
wow. How I think that was driver error. Fishtailing.
Yeah, fishtail. Yeah. No, it was terrible on the roads. But anyway, I love my car.
Yeah.
I don't care about the age. I don't care what it looks like. I love the car. But that's how I'm treating life.
Yeah.
It's what makes me happy. I'm rich, not monetarily. Well, yeah, anyway, but not monetarily.
Yeah.
But I'm wealthy.
So for you, do you feel like your mindset of feeling wealthy was really pivotal in you creating the rich wealth, the riches too? Or are those different principles? Because you said that
Those are different principles.
Okay, so
Yeah,
do you want to
yeah.
jump into some of those?
On the richness part, on the monetary side, on the monetary side, it's manipulation.
Oh,
It's all manipulation. It's, how do I put this? It's strategic moves that you make in business related to money of how you can achieve to get to the point that you want to get to on a monetary basis. I'll just give you an idea.
sure.
I just entered into a business, as you know, another business with my partner, Desi. We have an E-line clothing line, sports line. But I was fascinated. I didn't get into the business. Oh, excuse me. I didn't get into the business because of money.
Hmm.
I got into the business because of her. Because of her personality. She's like the mirror image of me as what I was when I was her age. And I saw she's got that gusto and the gung ho and the mentality. She's 27 years old, but she acts like she's 40 and thinks like she's 40. And she's got this mental attitude like she's 40. She's very mature for her age. And her creativity is incredible. And her drive is incredible.
She's incredibly talented.
She's very talented, very talented. So I said, let me put some money into her pocket and let's get this business going, because the only thing they lacked was money, just like I did when I was coming up. I said, fine, let's do it. Okay. So I put X amount of cash into the business. Okay. Now you need inventory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being a businessman that I am, and I'm not so unusual that other people wouldn't think of it. I have a couple of credit cards. Well, more than a couple, but I have one credit card that I have a pretty high line of credit on, right? That I get back 1.5% on purchases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said to them, when I say them, Desi, I said to her, listen, let's put an order together for all the inventory you possibly need. I don't care how much it is. Let's put it all together and let's order it. And don't worry about where the money's going to come from. I'll pay for the whole thing. So she did. She put together a number. Now I have the credit card that also now gives you 12 months, same as cash. So you could pay this credit card off in 12 months, no interest.
Wow.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm figuring all this stuff out. And I say, you know what? That's like going to the bank and telling the bank I need a loan for inventory, which is called an asset loan.
Mm-hmm.
And they charge you 8, 10, 12, 15% interest. Here, I got a credit card, zero interest, and I get 1.5% back.
Jesus. What credit card company is this? Can you say?
Chase.
Chase. Okay.
There's a lot of them that do this.
Okay.
So I did it. So now what did I do? I used somebody else's money to build our inventory. I don't know what's going on with me. To build my inventory on somebody else's money, right? To pay off in 12 months.
Amazing.
Okay? So you need to use your brain. Not everybody has that aptitude. And I'm not putting feathers in my cap. I mean, there's a million people that can do this, right? It's all calculated. That's how you build.
Yeah. Okay.
All right? So that's just one little
So
portion
use
of
someone else's money whenever possible, but having a strategic
Exactly.
plan of making sure that you
But
can pay
make
it back.
sure you can pay it back.
Okay.
I know I can pay it back.
Right.
That money's already set aside for that.
Perfect.
So what do you got to lose? You're only compounding profit. The whole key to business is stay out of debt. Now, when I was in my other businesses and I had no choice but to go to the bank, when I was a multimillionaire, I had debt up to my eyebrows.
Isn't
So
that
I was rich, I was wealthy and rich, but heavily in debt.
right? It's interesting you say that because I heard something you might know more that Amazon, it's like a superpower, but it's never making profit. It's in so much. I don't know if it was debt, but they don't actually make anything.
Exactly.
So it generates so much revenue, but it is not
A profitable
a profitable business. Mind blowing.
But they will last 30 years before the bubble bursts
Right.
because of cash flow. As the cash flows, even though they're falling in debt, the cash flows, it'll take a long time for that balloon to burst.
It's crazy.
It's all bullshit. The whole thing is bullshit. And that's what I said, it's manipulating.
Yeah. Right.
See, it's all manipulation. But what is the true judge of riches? How much money you got in your pocket?
Mm.
How much did you spend? How much did you make?
Right.
At the end of the day, you want more that you didn't spend and more that you got profit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so elementary.
Right.
And how do you get to that point? Manipulation.
Mm.
When I first went into, I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
I'll give you a quick story. In Illinois, in Chicago, where I lived, of many places, I wanted to go into the check cashing business. They're called currency exchanges in Chicago. Now, what is the purpose of a currency exchange? And you have to be licensed by the Department of Financial Institutions and go through a whole rigmarole. We passed, we got it. We got the license. I went to my banker, who was a very close friend of mine. He was the president of the bank. We were very close buddies. His name was Michael Spezial. Okay? Italian, of course. I went to Mike. I said, Mike, listen, I have a proposition for you. I need to borrow $50,000 from you on my signature. I'm not putting up any collateral. I need $25,000 for build out, and I need $25,000 of a line of credit. He said, sure, you got it, because I had a good relationship with him. He said, sure, you got it. Sign the papers, and I'll give you 50 grand. No problem. I said, great. Now, the bad news. Bad news is I'm going to be overdrawn every single day. He says, what are you talking about? I said, well, here's how the currency exchange business works. In the morning, the armored car will come by and pick up $25,000 in cash from you, drive it to my place. We're going to be cashing checks every day. At night, we charge 2%. At night, I'm going to deposit 25 plus the 2%, which is the profit.
Right.
But so I'm going to be overdrawn, but then I'm going to make it good for the next day.
Right.
Excuse me for this. The next day, the armored car's going to come by and pick up another 25,000. I'm going to be overdrawn, but I'm going to make it good every night. I want you to charge me every day for being overdrawn. Okay? And he did. And after I got done explaining it to him, he said, sure, let's do it. I kept that business for 2 years. Now, remember, it cost me $50,000 to get into this business, right? I kept it for 2 years.
Okay.
It was doing okay. I hated the business. Man, I hated the business. 2 years, a guy walks in, and I had a 400 square foot location. It was a tiny little place. It was just enough to just cash checks. So a guy walks in, looks around. He says, I like this place. He says, who's the owner? I said, me. He says, let me talk to you. I said, sure. He says, I want to buy this place. I said, really? So I'll give you $200,000 cash.
No way.
I said, come on, you kidding? He said, no, I'll give you $200,000 cash for the place. I literally took out the keys out of my pocket and gave him the keys. And a week later, we've signed all the papers and gave us $200,000 for the place. Paid off all my debts, everything.
Wow.
Because it was a licensed exchange, a licensed check cashing business. We also did food stamps and a whole bunch of other stuff,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was all service. There was no inventory or nothing. It was just all service. And this guy that bought it had 27 other check cashing businesses. So he was a whole chain, and he wanted that location, and he bought it for $200,000. So who knew? Who knows?
Wow.
You don't know. You don't know.
Wow.
So that's one of my successes. It was terrific.
That's amazing. I love that, the magic of that, because, you use someone else's money to start.
That's the key.
And then you made a
Not
massive...
investors. Do not. I have a whole thing about investors.
Oh, we'll get into that next then. But
Okay.
or now. So use personal loans.
You go to a bank. Investors are like partners. You never get rid of them.
And they're demanding and bitchy, and the divorces are bad.
A banker, you take a loan, you pay the interest, you pay the juice, or the VIG, or whatever you want to call it.
They leave you alone.
They leave you alone. As long as you pay it, they leave you alone. They're not involved in your business. You pay them off, or you're done with them.
So you suggest a bank or a personal friend
Or
loaning you money, but
partner.
minimal investor, minimal partner.
Exactly.
Like those are lesser.
Exactly. I hate it. I don't like investors. I've never had an investor. I'd rather go to a friend or a bank. Well, today, luckily, I don't need to. But having said that, it doesn't matter. I mean, even this business that we have in the studio here, I put up all the money. I put up all the cash for this place. My nephew, John, John goes out and finds the business, and it's a partnership.
You guys have a great partnership. You turn this around super quickly from open to like profit. Like it's great.
This is our third year. We just finished our third year, and we have been in profit from the first month that we opened the doors. Thanks to John.
Yeah.
John, what did I know from part? I'm an old guy. What do I know from podcasting? What the hell is podcasting?
And he convinced you to get one going for yourself.
He said, do it, and let's do it, and I'll get the business, and you run the books, and be the businessman on it. I said, fine, we're doing good. And his dad comes on, Tony Orlando. He comes on. I just had dinner with Tony a couple of weeks ago at my favorite Italian restaurant, at the Italian American Club, which
yes.
I'm a member of.
It's very nice.
Yeah, it's a terrific food.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a member there since I came to Vegas. So, yeah, it's been, it's been a good ride.
So we learned some pretty good points from you. So use other people's money as much as possible, not investors, partnerships at minimal, unless, I mean, you have probably a screening process with partnering. Like you knew John, obviously he's your nephew, so you knew he was.
Sometimes that's not too good either. Family and business is not sometimes a good situation.
So how would you suggest, vetting out if someone has to go down the partner or investor route? Like how do you vet someone to optimize? Because partnerships often don't end well.
Partnerships are worse than wives or divorces or being married because even though you don't have the emotional portion of it, but it's great when you're not making money in a partnership. But once you start making money in a partnership, big problems.
Really? That's the opposite of what I thought.
Absolutely.
Really? So that's when the hands start coming out,
Yeah,
and
I did this, and I should get more, and blah, 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 and I paid $12 for this, and I should get a reimbursement. We got the money. Before it was, let me spend the $12 because we got to build the business.
and it was camaraderie and let's build it. But, oh shit!
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, that's a great point.
It's terrible.
It's so funny because I opened up my own regenerative practice. It was, before the pandemic, and then I stepped back from it because I did more executive positions, and it was just me. And I was thinking about, my boyfriend at the time wanted to invest, and I'm just like, no, I don't want. I need to, because he was trying to get into my creative space, my creative control, and that was just that part. I knew what I was doing. I didn't want to have that kind of help. Didn't need it. But I never thought about that part. Once the money starts being made, oh shit, the hand would be open.
Problems. I had a 5-store optical eyeglasses operation again in Chicago. My partner was an optometrist, an eye doctor.
Yeah.
I was the optician. We started with one location, and we ended up with 5 locations. We had a chain. It was doing great. This is back in the 80s. He comes to me one day, and because I was responsible for taking care of all 5 locations, all he did was come into one location, did his eye exams, which he got paid for, okay, and went home. I ran the entire 5-store operation, and I would run around from store to store to store to store to store. And I would put gas in my car, and I would use a company credit card to put the gas in. He came to me one day and says, you use $500 more in gas than I did. Either I buy you out or you buy me out.
Over $500.
Correct. It's when you make the money is when the problems start. It's not when you don't have the money, when you're not making money. It's when you start making money.
Wow.
And it happens in every single partnership. People get greedy. People get stupid. It's getting stupid. It's stupid. Stupidity.
It's very similar. I'm just thinking about even in marriages, it's the same kind of thing that happens too.
Exactly.
When someone starts getting wealthy, then the girl starts wanting more. If it's a transactional marriage or assignment, oh, well, you're making more money. Let's go on this trip. Or I need this dress and I need this and I need that. And then it's like, then you're poor again because now your demands and your desires.
I don't call it poor. You know what I call it? It's poverty at a higher level.
That's great.
Poverty at a higher level.
Right.
When you're making $30,000 a year and you're spending $31,000, you're poverty.
Mm-hmm.
When you're making $200,000 a year and you're spending $210,000 a year, poverty.
It's true.
It's just higher level.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
What I've learned over the last, I'm going to be 80 years old. What I've learned over the 80 years is incredible. And I've still got a lot to learn, but I'll tell you something. It's a joke. It's just a joke. I don't take it seriously.
What don't you? What do you not take
Life.
seriously?
I don't
Just
take
life in
life
general?
seriously. I just want to be happy.
Right.
Today I live in a 1,600 square foot house, which it's not a house. It's my home. The other houses I lived in were houses. My 6,000 square foot home in Illinois was a house. It was not my home. I was not happy. I've had everything. I had a car, like I said, I had cars, planes. You know, I'm a pilot. I fly. I do all that kind of stuff. I had three cabin cruiser boats at one time
Wow.
because I got what they call 2-foot-itis. I wanted 2 feet bigger. Every time I saw a boat, I wanted 2 feet bigger. The problem was I never sold the old ones.
Oh, that's a problem.
So I had 3 of them docked.
Wow.
But it didn't matter. I was making money. Who cares? I traveled the entire world. We went on vacations. My nut back in the 80s was $30,000. I needed to make $30,000 a month to break even.
Back when?
In the 80s, late 80s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a shit ton of money
Yeah.
this day.
But you know what? It didn't matter. I was doing it. I was making it. Who cared?
Right.
It didn't matter. My kids turned 16 years old in Chicago. I bought them a new car. My kid in California needed a car. I bought him a car in California. I said, here, buy it, go drive around.
Wow.
Money is just nothing. It's nothing. It means nothing. You need it to live. As long as you can, today, as long as I can pay my bills, have a couple of bucks in my pocket, have a good life. I have a great wife. We're married now we've been together since 2002, and we've been married since 2009.
Oh.
Yeah, so, she's my best friend and everything else, and great wife, and we're happy, it's just, that's all is simplicity.
Yeah.
Give me simplicity. I'm still flying my airplanes. I don't want boating. It's a hole in the water. You just keep throwing money into it. I don't want boats. I don't want any of that stuff. Just simple life.
Yeah, and I love that. So your perspective is very much in alignment with what I'm doing and what I want all of my viewers and listeners to take away. It's not about all the things. It's not about just the money. The money is an important piece that we want to talk about, and maybe being strategic. And if it's something resonates with you, it's about authenticity. It's generating revenue through businesses, through different ways in an authentic way. Because if it's passion driven and it's something you enjoy doing, the money is going to come, and you will have wealth and riches, whatever the riches or the financial aspect looks like.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, when you put your money someplace, think about what you're doing. I mean, you have to have some kind of basis to investing into a business, which I do all the time. I analyze, what's the downside. Most of the time, I analyze what's the downside. Not what the upside is. What is the downside?
It's like,
how much can I lose? Not how much can I make.
That's great. It's like the same. I keep going back to relationships because we did the relationship series, but it is a relationship. Business is a relationship between you and another thing, and it's like looking at the red flags in
Absolutely.
a person, like
Right.
vetting them and making sure. So how did you learn? I mean, that's a loaded question. I mean, your education in business was not formal, right? In academics,
right.
It was like in the streets and all the,
Yeah, all the street stuff.
How would you suggest, people, kids, young, the 20-year-olds, whatever, that want to start creating some sort of wealth? How do you suggest they learn?
Boy, I feel so sorry for this generation.
Yeah.
Because they all think it's going to come easy. They all say, well, it's all tech stuff today. Everything is tech. Give me carbon paper and a pencil.
Yeah.
Because that's the basics. You know, you're talking about tech stuff. You know, the Bitcoin and all that stuff. Bitcoin is back with air.
Right. It's all the things that we're, the younger generations are being touted as, content creation, influencers.
Right, to who?
These abstract things. Yeah, like Bitcoin. They don't have.
There's no substance to Bitcoin. There's no back.
But is it going forward from your perspective, since you're in business, is that a true trend? Do we need to be encouraging the youth to get into the brick and mortar type of service stuff? Or do you see that this trending into more of these abstract, airy things are going to be really the wave?
I can't really answer that. I don't know what the direction is. I can only tell you that it doesn't make any sense to me. I look at the economy today. Today, the report came out 3.4% CPI, Consumer Price Index, 3.4% for the month. That's huge. When Trump was in office, it was 1.9. It's double.
Do you think it's because of the election coming up, or is that
No, I think it's because of this administration spending so much damn money that we don't have. That's what the deficit is all about. That's what everything is all about. It's how much they spend. They don't care. We're not on a gold standard anymore. We haven't been on a gold standard since early 70s.
What does the gold standard mean?
Gold standard is the value of our money was worth as much as the gold we had on reserve.
Oh, I see, yes.
Fort Knox. Remember Fort Knox? If we had $1 million in Fort Knox, that's what our cash was worth, $1 million. They took it off the gold standard, which means they started printing money with no value. So we may still have the $1 million worth of gold in Fort Knox, but we got $10 trillion out there in green, which is the value. The money doesn't mean anything, right? So if we went back on the gold, I'm not so sure you want it back on the gold standard because it would be an awful lot of gold today that you'd need to back it up. I'm not sure you can go back to the gold standard. But there's got to be a basis for how much your money is worth. I mean, the inflation that we're facing today, you go to buy a dozen eggs today, it's ridiculous. It used to be $1.99. Now it's $6, $7 a dozen.
It's dumb.
Is that nuts?
It is, really.
When Trump left office, gasoline was like about $2. Now, $3.70 a gallon, almost double again. It's ridiculous. But the income of the average person only went up about 5 or 6%.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're getting killed. But the problem is that you need a businessman in that office right now just to straighten it out. Trump for 4 years would do it.
Do you think he'll get back?
There's no doubt in my mind.
Really?
That he would straighten it out.
Someone told me, this is very funny, astrologically, it's not in Donald Trump's chart that he's going to get voted back in office.
Really?
For those of you who are zodiac and astrology buffs, yeah, I had someone just randomly.
Let me give you a little surprise.
I giggled because I don't really subscribe to that stuff anymore. I mean, I did in my day, but I guess we'll see. Is astrology right?
Well, let me give you a little burst of your bubble a little bit.
It's not my bubble burst.
Okay. Trump and I share the same birthday.
Oh, yes.
June 14th.
Okay. Same year?
No, he's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
But the same day.
Same day.
So I don't think that's bullshit.
It's all perception. If you believe in that stuff, it will manifest. If you don't believe in it, it's not going to touch you. Yeah, exactly.
Mercury's rising.
I know.
Who cares?
I asked someone on my podcast, Nick Diaz, about his gambling habits or his betting habits. And so Austin, my producer, was like, "Oh my God, ask him. This will piss him off. Just ask him if he gambles, if he places bets differently when Mercury is in retrograde."
Yeah, right.
And I asked him on air. He didn't know I was asking it very serious, and he just burst out. He's like, "Oh my fucking God, I can't believe he asked me."
Yeah, right.
Because
Right.
he's like, that is the most ridiculous thing
Yeah,
ever. But
it's-
again, that's, going back to the power of perception. Some people swear to God when the moon is full and Mercury is retrograde, their life gets fucked up, and other people, it doesn't. It's really in what you want to subscribe to.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What is the big drive with your generation and your generation after that to become rich? What is the drive to become rich?
I don't see, for me, there isn't a drive to become rich. For me, it's really about having everything I need when I need it or before I need it so I can live my life fully.
Right.
I do have
Good
big
for you.
dreams. I do want to do big things for the people, but it's not to generate riches. I know it'll come because my dreams are big, but it's not about the money. It's not about the riches per se. I do like luxury. I know that the things that I want, but there's other ways to get them than pushing and riches and all of the things. The younger generation, honestly, I don't know from my experiences, like those in the 20s and 30s, young 30s, 'cause I'm only 40. I'm a millennial elder. So I'm at the top of my generation. I just have to lead by example. But the younger ones, I don't know. I don't know if they're really driven for riches. Are you seeing that? Because I'm not seeing it, at least in the people that I'm associating with. They're more about, I want passion. I want love is back in. Love, companionship seems to be like it was out for a long time. And now it's like people are realizing I want love-based. I want companionship. I want camaraderie. I want to have enjoyment and adventure.
Wait.
It's less about the money.
It's weird love, though.
Oh, I'm not necessarily including all the...
It's women on women and men on men.
Well, I'm not seeing that in the circles that I'm running. It's the more traditional, unification. There is, I think, some of that going on too. I mean, but that's, I guess, I don't know.
To each his own.
To each his own. Love is what people say. I don't really have a stance on that. I'm kind of neutral.
I don't care about that either.
I just like that love is back and people are prioritizing unity and harmony within themselves instead of all this separation and sleeping around and not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just, I feel like there's so much more peace and tranquility and harmony in wanting to relate to people on a more deeper level. And I think that priority change from, especially in women that have been the saying chicks with dicks that are really aggressive. They want to make the money, but they're so aggressive that they're not feminine. They've lost that. They tend to be almost hypersexual, very much the masculine energy. And I feel like there's a rebalance that women are starting to be more both balanced masculine and feminine, where they can be independent and successful, but not losing their femininity in a relationship. And men, I find, are starting to become more vulnerable, more understanding, more sensitive to a woman's needs, but not losing their masculinity. There was a while there where women were hyper masculine, men were hyper feminine, and it was really too much. I dated during that time, and it was not pretty. These, these beta males, if you will, lack of a better term, I don't know what they're called. Sorry if I offend anyone. But now I'm seeing so much more of this balance. Thank God, because it was horrible for a while. It was very sad to see these. Everyone's miserable. Women are trying so hard. Men are like, how do I just love you? I don't know. You're scary. I want to love this woman, but she's so intense. And so they didn't know how to be. Yeah. So I'm seeing more of this balance. Thank God.
Don't forget, interesting you're saying all that stuff, because the beginning half of my life, women were mothers. They stayed home, they cooked, they cleaned, and they did dishes, right? Mm-hmm. The other half of my life, women became professionals. My second wife became a psychologist. I put her through school, okay, and she became a psychologist. Crazy as a motherfucker.
Usually those of us who have like mental shit go into the professions that are mental health focused because we're fucked up.
Really
Takes
fucked
one to
up.
know one.
Really fucked up. Every day I would get, why did you do that? Why did you say that? What did you mean by that? Because I felt like fucking saying it. Or I felt like fucking doing it. Don't try to analyze me. And then she analyzed every single person that ever we associated with. She really became crazy. She really became nuts. And it was after, and you know what it costs to go through school.
Do I?
So she became a full psychologist. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
She was a clinical psychologist, a clinical psychotherapist,
Mm-hmm.
and then went on to become a psychologist. And I kept on shelling out the money and going to school, blah, 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 blah. And that was really a failure of our marriage because she was nuts. And I got a lot to blame for myself, too, in that marriage. You know, I can't just blame her. But so the second half of my life was professional. The women became professionals, business people or psychologists or whatever. Okay? So I've grown up with both sides. There's got to be a happy medium between those two. And I think you're 100% right. I think that's what women are finding it today. They're finding that happy medium to be a lady, be a professional. My godfather used to say to me, I want a woman who's a hooker at night in bed and a lady during the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay?
Yep. Amen. I feel that same way. I mean,
Right.
when I'm out there, I want to be, I want to be powerful. I want to be a
Right.
professional. I want to like dominate. But at home, I
Yeah.
will slut it up with my man.
There you go.
know?
There you go.
I mean, it's a balance. I want to feel feminine. If I'm masculine during the day and I'm doing and I'm being and all these things, I want to just surrender.
Exactly.
I want to be female at home with my man. I want him to
Exactly.
feel that.
But men haven't changed, you see. That's the problem.
More of the younger generational men have because they've been raised. I see them like in, Jay and JJ's generation. I feel that they've been sort of more in touch with their feelings. They've been allowed to be more nurtured and they're able to be more vulnerable. So I'm dating someone right now who I'm so madly in love with. He's 34 and he was raised that way to be really very masculine, very alpha, very, in his masculine, but he knows how to balance communication and having,
right.
He had to balance it though. Like there were times because he's Argentinian. So he's like very, he was very intense at times and very passionate and very vocal. But, there were skills that he learned because he was taught from a, preteen to keep himself regulated and balanced. And I think a lot more of that. I mean, school systems are fucked up here. But the one thing that I feel like some of this movement, the woke movement or whatever, just some of the trend is that men have at least learned how to connect with themselves. It just went so far where some of them became very beta and they didn't know what to do. But like I said, I'm finding like that's balanced out as women have calmed down and are like, this is too fucking exhausting being, so masculine all the time. And what is it worth having all this money? But now I have no guys. They just use me. They just want to fuck me and leave because if you have a masculine energy, that's all you're good for. A masculine will see that and then they'll dump you when you don't have that femininity. So I think, like I said, thank God there's been this rebalancing, but I feel like more the younger generations, and that might be part of the frustration the older generations have with the younger men is that they are, I don't want to say softer because they're not softer. They're just more in tune and connected with the emotionality that they are, and they're willing to prioritize that. And again, that's why I feel like they're not so driven for riches because they know if I'm doing something that I'm not passionate about it, it doesn't feed me in a good way, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more and more of the younger generations are wanting to have that wealth, that balance, the love, and allow the riches to just, come to them in a more natural way.
Where do you think the richness, the money aspect of it comes from?
For the younger people?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's something we have to explore. I'm not sure yet. That will be one of my next guests.
Is it because they haven't experienced the cars and the boats and the airplanes and the houses and all that stuff? And they think, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, because it doesn't mean shit.
I don't know. Maybe it is partly naivety for those that are still really driven for riches. Could be
They
also
see somebody
pressure.
driving a Ferrari and they say, oh, I got to have that Ferrari. And
Yep.
then he's not that the Ferrari. This is really a piece of shit.
Yeah, right. And there's so much to go into that and the stress that's involved. Well, I think there still might be some of that old conditioning that men are they're only good if they have money, because traditionally, marriages these have been arrangements, right? Back in the dawn of marriage, it was political. It was a woman had a dowry. She had to marry into a political family for status. And so this whole, it's all trickled down even to modern day where you get married, a man thinks, I know lots of men who are older and they don't take care of themselves and they think, well, as long as I have money, I'm going to be able to get that young girl to put on his arm and make him feel validated. But she doesn't love him for him.
You can't use what he's got anyways. It's too old.
Exactly. And she settles for that because she has security.
Exactly.
But they're not loving each other for who they are.
Right.
A man has to realize what his worth is without the riches. Who are you? Are you wealthy? Do you have the mindset? Can you handle sleeping on a fucking couch? Do you still feel you're wealthy and you're significant when you have nothing? That is hard for men.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because you know what keeps my marriage together today?
What?
Humor. Me and my wife laugh all the time. Yeah. When she wakes up, I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning. When she gets up, the first things out of my mouth are,
oh, God.
Morning, bitch. And you know what she says?
What?
I know you love me when you call me a bitch.
Aw.
And I do. It's my way of saying, good morning, I love you.
Yeah.
Good morning, bitch.
It's cute.
Coffee's on. I make the coffee in the morning. Coffee's on. We sit down, we have cigarettes, and we smoke, and we have coffee together, and we're up until 7, 8 o'clock talking. Okay, then, and the rest of the day goes on. But it's the humor that keeps your marriage together.
Yeah.
Don't take life seriously. Everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to happen.
I love that.
It'll take care of itself. And if it doesn't, get an early indication and get the fuck out.
Those are like two opposites. It's like wait it out because it'll self-correct. But if it's something big, get the fuck out.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out, you better recognize that.
Oh.
And stop wasting. I wasted the second marriage. I 28 years. 28-year marriage.
Wow.
And I should have been out after the first 10. Okay? But being who I was then, I figured it's going to change. It'll be different. And you hope, and you hope, and you hope. You can hope till you drop dead, which I almost did. Okay? And I said, this ain't going to change. I got to get the fuck out of this thing.
Right.
And that's why I just left everything. Bye. See you. Don't want to be you.
Yeah.
I
get it. That's powerful that it was that painful for you that you were willing to walk away from everything.
And happy.
And I did the same thing with my marriage. I was like, I need fucking out of here. Like, I'm going to take, the part of the home because I invested so much in my family. I don't want anything to do with you. You don't have to pay me shit. I don't want it. Let me go. Your debt's yours. Mine's mine. We split the house. Please let me the fuck out of here.
That's all I wanted. Let me get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
I packed up my high top van with stuff that I wanted, which was usually my weapons, and a few clothes, and I got the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
I drove 1,700 miles to Las Vegas, and here I am.
Wow.
With nothing, and started all over again. It's only 20 years ago.
So what did you do? We have just a few minutes left. What did you do when you got here, like to start? Did you?
I was fortunate because at that time, my brother-in-law, Tony Orlando, John's father, had opened at the Golden Nugget. He did a residency show there, and he had asked me if I would help him do the show. So I lived at the Golden Nugget for 3 months.
That's right. Amazing.
You know, and
See, it's who you know. That's another big piece is having.
I wasn't getting paid or anything, but you know, I did. Tony and I are like brothers from other mothers.
Nice.
So we've been very close. I know Tony since I'm about 16, 17 years old.
Right.
So we go back way before he was Tony Orlando.
That's amazing. So some really good pieces here that you talked about is like using other people's money, stay away from partnerships if at all possible, or investors.
I wouldn't say stay away from partnerships. I would say be cognizant of the partnership that you're entering into, and make sure you have everything documented and signed, and do contracts, and buy-sell agreements and partnership agreements and operating agreements.
It sounds so much more complicated than just saying,
it is.
Yo, buddy, I need 50 grand. Can you loan it to me? I'll pay you back when I can.
That's the old days, and that's the way it was.
I love it. I love it.
And don't forget, that's the way the Jews and the Italians operated all the time.
Right. Yeah, you don't fuck around with those people, though.
No, it was between me and my buddy Mike, it was a handshake.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's written in gold. If I borrow 50 grand from you, you're getting the back.
Sure.
No problem.
Sure.
I don't care if I got to go out and kill somebody to get the 50 grand.
All right.
But it's got to happen. You're going to get paid back.
Right.
When I sold that currency exchange, the check cashing business, I walked in with a $200,000 check in my hand, went to Mike. I said, Mike, how much do I owe you? He figured it all up to the penny. I said, here's a $200,000 check. Take it out of this, and we're even.
Wow.
It's the first thing I did with the $200,000. I walked in and cleared up the bank.
Love it.
Okay?
Yeah.
But you got to maintain those relationships. Today, banking is so much different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Well, and that was the last point, too, I was saying is, you made a really good point about having a network and cultivating really real relationships, because those are the ones that you're going to get the loans from and the people that can help you when your lesson didn't turn out the way you had anticipated. So men are really good at that. You have each other's backs. Women can be a little backstabbing. I think it's gotten better. There's more women empowerment, but women traditionally don't want to see each other succeed because they're protecting their men from the other women.
Right.
It's balanced, like I said, a lot more now that women have gotten a little taste of business and they're like more, okay, we got to calm down and we got to support each other. But I've always envied that with men, because you could be fucking mad at each other, hash it out, fight each other out, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And I really respect that, because we don't get that with women generally.
Don't forget, the people's toes you step on today are the people that may be helping you tomorrow.
That's right. Exactly.
So don't
Especially
step on
in
toes.
this town is very, very small. You don't want to fuck around here.
2.5 million people, and you don't know who you.
And they show up. Trust me. You run into people. You're like, oh my God, I never thought I would see them in. Thank God. I mean, yes, I had my indictment and the whole thing, but that, there's the whole thing about it. But now I'm building my brand from that hardship and what happened to me. But I've never slighted somebody. There might be guys that are jealous or didn't like that I broke up with them or whatever, but I've never, ever hurt somebody. I've never fucked up, because that shit will bite you in the back.
Oh, it'll bite you in the ass every time.
Yeah.
Every time. So I've tried to live my life,
Honesty, integrity.
Well, I don't know about honesty, but...
Okay, integrity.
Integrity.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. I don't know about honesty. But integrity for sure.
Integrity. Okay, no. Yeah. Honesty.
No.
Not important.
My handshake is better than my signature.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I hope it was good for you. I mean,
it was absolutely. We got some great tidbits. I totally in alignment. Not expecting you to be so focused on wealth and not monetary riches. I really, really love that, because that's really what I believe, and I want what I want people to believe in that too. I want them to just feel rich in the way that they want to be, not what they're conditioned to be or what they think is traditional. So
listen, you're wearing what you're wearing today. I'm wearing what I'm wearing today. I don't care what you got in your pocket. I don't care what I got in my pocket. Who cares? That's only money,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
But the communication, the wealth is laying right here. So what we created today was wealth, right?
Yes.
Okay, it has nothing to do with money. It has
That's
nothing
right.
to do with riches. Riches will come. Don't worry about it. It'll be there.
I love it. What a way to wrap up. My sentiments exactly. I just had a conversation with someone earlier today. I was going to do this podcast. Those words literally came out of my mouth. So I love it. The riches will come.
It'll come.
Let's just enjoy and follow our passion
Yeah.
and do what inspires us, and everything else will work itself out.
It's only a barometer.
I love it. It's only a barometer, folks. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed this a lot.
Thank you. Me
Yeah,
too.
you gotta
As
come on
always.
my show.
Cheers. I will. Yes. Invite me. I will be there. We'll talk. I'll ask you questions and we'll talk.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
To life.
Life.
I have an uncle doing L'chaim in Sing Sing.
All right, everybody. Until next
Cheers.
time. Cheers.